In 1965, a math prodigy walked into Fort Meade, Maryland, the most secretive building in America. He was 22 years old. His name was William Binney, and for the next 36 years, he would become one of the most brilliant codebreakers the NSA ever produced. Cold War, Soviet signals flooding the airwaves, encrypted, layered, designed to be unbreakable. Binney broke them anyway, not with brute force, with elegant mathematics that made his supervisors uncomfortable. By the 1990s, he was technical director of the NSA's World Geopolitical and Military Analysis Division. 30 years of service, the kind of man they build statues for. But statues aren't what happened. Here's the problem Binney saw coming before anyone else. The internet was about to drown the NSA in data. Every email, every phone call, every transaction. A tsunami of raw information, and no system capable of sorting it. The NSA's existing tools were Cold War relics, built to intercept radio signals. Not billions of digital packets per second. So Binney built something new. He called it ThinThread. ThinThread could ingest massive volumes of internet and phone data, find the patterns that mattered, and discard the noise in real time. But here's what made it different from everything that came after. ThinThread had privacy protections baked into the architecture. American citizens' data was automatically encrypted, masked, protected. You could only unmask a specific person with a court order. The Fourth Amendment, built into the code, a surveillance system that actually respected the Constitution. That was supposed to be impossible. Binney's team tested it. It worked. It cost $3 million. $3 million, the cost of a nice house. For a system that could monitor the world's communications while protecting American privacy. Remember that number, $3 million, it comes back. The NSA leadership looked at ThinThread. They looked at the test results. Then they made a decision that would change everything. They killed it. Not because it didn't work, because it worked too well, too cheaply. And the NSA had already committed to something else. Trailblazer, a massive surveillance program contracted out to the private defense industry, SAIC, Booz Allen, the usual suspects. Trailblazer's price tag, $1.2 billion, 400 times the cost of ThinThread. It didn't work, not then, not ever. Trailblazer would eventually be declared a total failure. But the contracts were signed, the money was flowing. $3 million for a working system, or $1.2 billion for a broken one. The NSA chose the billion-dollar failure. Binney watched his life's work get shelved, filed away in a classified cabinet. The date was August 2001, 3 weeks before September 11th. Let that sink in. 3 weeks? In those 3 weeks, 19 hijackers were making phone calls, sending emails, booking flights, moving money. The data was there, sitting in NSA intercepts, unprocessed, unsorted, buried under the flood of information that ThinThread was specifically designed to handle. And ThinThread was sitting on a shelf. September 11th, 2001, 2 planes hit the World Trade Center, one hits the Pentagon. One crashes in a field in Pennsylvania. Nearly 3,000 people die. Binney watched the towers fall on television. And he knew. He didn't guess. He didn't suspect. He knew with the certainty of a mathematician who had built the very system that could have connected those dots. The signals were there. His system could have found them. And someone had decided 3 weeks earlier that it wasn't worth $3 million. That knowledge would eat at him for the rest of his life. But what happened next was worse. After 9/11, the NSA panicked. The pressure to prevent the next attack was enormous. So they dusted off ThinThread's architecture. They took the collection capabilities, the part that could ingest the world's data, the part that worked, and they stripped out every privacy protection Binney had built in. No encryption of American data, no court orders required, no Fourth Amendment safeguards. Just raw, warrantless surveillance of every American. They called it Stellar Wind. Binney's creation, his mathematics, his architecture, weaponized against the very citizens it was designed to protect. Imagine building a cure for a disease. Watching someone take your formula, remove the safety controls, and turn it into a weapon. That's what happened to William Binney's life's work. He resigned from the NSA in October 2001, after 36 years. Walked out the door and didn't look back. But he didn't disappear. He did something remarkable. Something almost nobody in his position would have the courage or the naivety to do. He went through official channels. Binney and 3 colleagues, Kirk Weber, Ed Loomis, Diane Rourke, filed a formal complaint. Department of Defense Inspector General. They documented everything, the waste, the fraud, the constitutional violations. Hundreds of pages of evidence submitted through the exact process the government designed for whistleblowers. They believed the system would work. That when presented with proof of waste and illegal surveillance, the machinery of accountability would engage. Remember that belief. It's important later. The IG investigation dragged on. Years passed. No action, no reform, no response. Meanwhile, stellar wind kept running. Every phone call, every email, every American. No warrant. No oversight. Binney tried talking to congressional intelligence committees. Some members listened, most didn't. The ones who did were told it was classified and they couldn't discuss it publicly. The system he'd trusted to correct itself was protecting itself instead. December 2005, the New York Times breaks the story of warrantless wiretapping. The public learns the NSA is spying on Americans without court orders. Binney thought, finally. Now the truth is out. Now something will change. Something changed, but not what he expected. The FBI opened an investigation, not into the illegal surveillance program, into who leaked information about it to the press. The government wasn't looking for the people who broke the law. They were looking for the people who told the public about it. July 26, 2007, 5:30 in the morning, Binney's house in suburban Maryland. He was in the shower. His wife was still in bed. The doorbell didn't ring. There was no knock. A dozen FBI agents with drawn weapons surrounded the house. They came through the front door. Binney stepped out of the shower and found a gun pointed at his face. Naked, wet, 64 years old, 36 years of service to his country. And an FBI agent was pointing a weapon at his head. They searched everything. Every room, every drawer, every computer. They took documents, hard drives. Notes from his IG complaint. The same morning, FBI teams raided the homes of Kirk Weber, Ed Loomis, and Diane Rourke. Simultaneous raids coordinated dawn. Think about that. They filed a complaint through official channels, and the government raided them at gunpoint for it. Binney stood in his kitchen in a bathrobe, watching agents carry boxes out of his home. His wife was shaking. His neighbors were staring. 36 years of loyalty. This is what it bought him. The government tried to indict Binney 3 separate times, 3 different angles. They wanted him in prison. Each time, the charges collapsed. There was nothing there. He hadn't leaked classified information. He'd filed a legal complaint. But the damage was done. His security clearance was revoked. Without a clearance, no government consulting work. Without consulting work, no income. His small business collapsed. They didn't need to convict him. They just needed to destroy him. And they did. For 6 years, Binney lived under a cloud. 3 failed indictments. No charges. No apology. Just silence. He gave interviews, wrote papers, testified where he could. Most people had never heard his name. The surveillance state he'd warned about kept expanding. PRISM, X-Keyscore. Programs that made stellar wind look modest. And then Edward Snowden walked into a hotel room in Hong Kong. June 2013. Snowden revealed the full scope of NSA mass surveillance to journalists Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras. The world already knew pieces of this story. Binney had been telling it for years. But Snowden had the documents. Classified slides, internal memos, program names, the proof that Binney's warnings weren't paranoia. They were understatement. But here's the part that hit Binney like a freight train. Journalists asked Snowden why he didn't use official channels. Why not go to the Inspector General? Snowden had an answer ready. He pointed to William Binney. Binney did everything right. He followed every rule, used every official channel. And what did it get him? A gun in his face at 5:30 in the morning. Snowden said, "I watched what happened to the people who tried to do it the right way. That's why I didn't." The man who went through proper channels became the cautionary tale that convinced the next whistleblower not to. Think about what that means. The system punished Binney so visibly that it created Snowden. If they had listened to Binney in 2002, there would have been no need for Snowden in 2013. Binney's response to all of this was remarkably measured. No bitterness, no rage. Just a quiet, steady insistence on the truth. He testified before the German parliament about NSA surveillance of allied nations. He spoke at conferences, he did documentaries. He became the man who was right about everything, and it didn't matter. Because here's the thing about being vindicated in the intelligence world. Nobody throws you a parade. The programs are still running. The warrantless surveillance continues. Section 702 of FISA gets reauthorized every few years with barely a debate. The system Binney warned about in 2001 is bigger now than anyone imagined it could be. His $3 million solution was never reconsidered. The man who built the machine that could have prevented 9/11. Who got a gun in his face for doing the right thing. Most people still don't know his name. William Binney is not Edward Snowden. He's not Julian Assange. He has no movie. No best-selling memoir, no global fame. He's the man who came before, who did it right, and who proved that doing it right gets you destroyed. The last time he was asked if he'd do it again, file the complaint, go through channels, knowing everything that would follow, he said yes, without hesitation. Because some people don't blow the whistle for the outcome. They blow it because staying silent is worse. $3 million, that's what it would have cost, a working system. Privacy protections built in, the data to find 19 hijackers before they boarded 4 planes. $3 million, and somebody said no. The towers fell, the surveillance state rose. And the man who tried to prevent both spent his retirement fighting the government he'd served for 36 years. That's the story of William Binney, the man who warned them, the man they didn't listen to, the man who did everything right, and the system that made sure it didn't matter.